scene of utter devastation as flames ripped through the entire building. Now, this is a 24-storey tower, and it's believed that the fire started in the lower floors, so possibly around the 3rd and 4th floor. And it's approximately 6 flats per floor, so it's estimated upwards of 500 people live in Grenfell Towers. And certainly at the time at which this fire broke out, at 1 o'clock in the morning, many of those would have been asleep in bed. It's now been confirmed only very recently that 12 people are confirmed dead, but there are still many, many missing, as the search, as you can imagine, is hampered by the sheer state of the building. Flames have really only just been put out, but you might be able to see behind me that there is still smoke every so often billowing out of windows of what is the carcass of Grenfell Towers. Well, many people, as you can imagine, rushing to try and find loved ones, people who they knew who lived in the tower. One of those people we interviewed a little earlier on. He, in fact, lived in Grenfell Towers with his mother. He was out at the time of the fire, but tried to go and find his mother as he rushed back to the scene.
My mom was inside. Me and my sister went before the explosion happened to the cinema, and then as soon as the movie was over, I heard my mom calling saying the building's on fire. So we quickly ran. We got there in 8 minutes, and there was no police or officers, anybody to stop us, such a, firefighter to stop us. It was just open. We went very close to the buildings, we could see stuff falling on our heads. We didn't care. I just want to see my mom alive, I was devastated. I tried to go in, the firefighter stopped me, said that you can only go out, you can't go in. So I said, I need to see my mom, and he said, we will save her, or if she could be already safe, just look at in the leisure center, that platform, So I went there, and I'm so glad I saw my mom. So she was alive, but at the same time, 20 people, they were on their phones speaking live to their families and friends, their wives and children. Trying to give them some advice how to stay alive, They were in the building live, we were talking on the phone. We told them get a towel, make it wet, put it on your mouth, get on the floor, make sure you avoid the smoke, all that. It just lasted for half an hour and we lost the connection. So, you know that any minute someone can just lose their life just like that. A fire going that such quick, around the buildings, and it just felt so hard, a guy, I heard he still hasn't found his wife and daughter. So when I went closer, I saw 25 people gathering. It was much closer than where I used to be, and I saw someone saying, look, someone is jumping, we were all scared, and we looked at the guy, he just fell, from the top 16th, 17th floor, possibly. Surely people who were from 22nd, 21st floor, they couldn't risk their life going through the fire exits, the stairs. They knew the fire is coming from down to up, so there was no point risking their life going down. The best thing was staying up, but staying up, the fire would reach you. And that is exactly what happened. And we heard explosion every 10 seconds.
Just a sense there of frantic chaos that unfolded in the early hours of this morning. Now, the fire brigade was on the scene within 6 minutes of that initial call, but of course it had to be scaled up rapidly as the flames began to take hold of the building behind me. At one point, there was around 250 firefighters, that's around 40 fire engines on the scene, trying in vain to stop the flames from spreading. Now, for many, the appearance of fire engines on the scene was the first sign that something was wrong. Most people slept through it, but many people in neighbouring buildings began to hear the alarms and the sirens of the fire brigade and awoke. The one witness told us how she was living opposite and had to flee with her family.
I saw people just running out, and then I saw more fire engines, more people screaming, and then I heard somebody say the whole building's on fire. So I just woke up my flatmate, we ran out, I grabbed and then we ran out. And then you just saw the whole building on fire and people screaming for help, and people down near me screaming because their loved ones are there, and the stuff you can do, and we were being pushed back, and then the fire just took on so quick, it was so quick, just took, and then I went to my building to a patio, and we saw the rest of the building, and we just saw people just literally surviving, waiting for the fire to take them because there's nothing else they can do. They're just waiting to die. They're taking air from the window, taking it in turns, and one person had a light in the phone, so you know they're there. And we were all like, look, can you see that person? They're waving, and then the fire just took the building.
Well, a police cordon remains around the area on various different roads. The part that we're in now has only really just been lifted, and if we can show you why, because we're very close to Grenfell Towers now, and we are probably at the side that was the worst affected, because you can just see that there is, at some points, not even any internal walls that can be seen inside flats, and still plumes of smoke can be seen, although the flames seem to have disappeared. In fact, we're in a very residential area here, and it's been quite startling to see how many people have been walking around visibly shaken or upset. Perhaps they knew people who lived in the building, but also the amount of people bringing supplies to nearby centres. Now, what seems to be the most shocking about this story is the speed of the way the fire spread. As I said, it started around the 3rd or the 4th floor and spread upwards. Now, there are some concerns about how it was able to spread as fast as it would. Modern flats should be quite isolated if there was a fire, and it shouldn't spread to other flats, but the scenes show flames licking up the side, engulfing flats one by one. Some questions being raised about the modern cladding that was put on the outside of this building when it was refurbed yesterday. Safety concerns also being raised about the building as a whole, and they have been on a residents' blog actually for a number of years. We'll have some more information of those in a moment. But as you can imagine, as scenes like this unfold in the early hours of the morning, panic ensues. One woman was there to witness it all.
People were screaming, jumping through windows, screaming, help me, using phones. There were 100 firemen, it seemed, but they didn't seem to be able to do anything. They were sort of marching in military style underneath the tower, but unable to actually do anything or tackle it. And then we were just there having to watch people we've grown up with, people we know, some people we might be related to, scream for help, and just so desperate that they're jumping out of windows on 15th and 16th floors.
Did you see that?
Yeah, we did. From where we were, we could see most of the top half of the tower, and there were people screaming. One lady had her phone and she was waving it, and people were saying, help me, and we were like just grabbing each other saying there's nothing we can do at this side, and watching it all go. And then when just watching the building go, we knew the whole building is just going to be finished. Like any hopes of it being resolved or stopped just went, you knew. And like even this morning at 6 o'clock, I knew tomorrow afternoon we would still be here. It's a proper tragedy. It really is a tragedy for this community. From what I saw and the way that fire was, I would find it very hard to believe that a lot of people didn't die. I think there's going to be a whole lot of fatalities because people were trapped. They couldn't get out of there. And so I can't see many people surviving. It's a massive building. You've got families, you've got, 6 or 7 flats on each floor. There's hundreds and hundreds of people in there. When people were coming out, I saw about 50 or 60 who seemed displaced. And I'm thinking, where is everybody else?
Well, in the wake of this tragedy, many people have been reaching out, trying to see how they can help. Many donations being made in the area of food and clothes, but also those people who aren't so close wanting to donate money. There are ways of doing this. Evening Standard have set up the Dispossessed Funds, which will support victims and those affected by the fire here today. To do that, you can text the letters GREN and 88, and then followed by the amount you'd like to send, either £5 or £10 to the number 70070. The details on your screen now, or you can simply log on to dispossessedfund.org.uk. Now, that sort of outpouring of support has been happening all day. Some crowdfunding websites in total have got over £200,000 now. Now, if there is anyone watching who is worried for a friend, family, a loved one, there are numbers that you can call. The Met has set up a special line. It is 08000 961 233. 08000 961 233. Well, that's all we have time for this section. We will be back in a couple of minutes to bring you the very latest on the people injured in the fire behind me at Grenfell Park. We'll be back in a few moments. Welcome back to London Live News. We are here in North Kensington, just at the foot of Grenfell Tower behind me, where last night at 1 o'clock flames ripped through the building at such rapid pace that many people were unable to get out. Many people are unaccounted for, and sadly the death toll so far has risen to 12 and is expected to rise further. Well, to get the very latest on those injured, because there were a number of people pulled from the fire, we can cross live now to Alison Earle, who's at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington.
That's right, Alex. I'm just under 2 miles away from the scene of the tower block, which is why this is one of the closest major hospitals to where it all happened, and many of the casualties as a result have been brought here. Now, a major incident was declared across Imperial College NHS Trust, which looks after things here, but also Charing Cross Hospital. But emergency crews from all across the capital, the majority of the capital in fact, have been involved in helping and treating patients due to the scale of this fire. Well, the latest figures we have is that 12 people have been confirmed dead, 68 are being treated across 6 different hospitals. 18 of them are still in a critical condition. 10 people actually took themselves to A&E, so the overall number of injured stands at 78. Now, we know at least 16 people were brought here to St Mary's. A number of them are still in a serious situation, but patients are also being treated at Charing Cross Hospital, Royal Free in Hampstead, St Thomas's, Chelsea and Westminster, and King's College Hospital. Well, the Met Commander, Stuart Candy, was among those at the scene, and he's been explaining what emergency crews have been dealing with today, and also a little bit about the fatalities.
In relation to the number of fatalities, this will be a very complex and potentially lengthy recovery operation within the building, and I anticipate that the number of fatalities will sadly rise. Now, as all of you would imagine, my thoughts, the thoughts of the Metropolitan Police and all the emergency services, and indeed all of the communities in London, are with all of those that have been tragically affected by this shocking fire. The London Fire Brigade are within the building at this point in time. I can confirm that we've had 6 fatalities. I anticipate that number will rise, as I explained. We have a considerable number of people receiving medical care in hospital, of which 20 receiving critical care. I can't go into any details of how many people we understand might be missing. I do anticipate that there may be people within that building that are as yet unaccounted for. Now, in terms of the investigation, we're still at a very, very early stage. We're still in that response mode. So specialist investigators from the MPS are working alongside specialist investigators from the London Fire Brigade as well. And in time, we will aim to establish what caused this fire and the events surrounding it. So according to colleagues from the London Fire Brigade who have contacted specialist surveyors, at this point in time they consider the building structurally sound. Clearly that will be an ongoing process. We have emergency services within the building at this point in time.
Well, Stuart Candy there speaking before we had confirmation in the past hour that 12 people have died in the fire. Well, the Mayor was among those who praised the efforts of fire crews, but also the medics and trauma units and even volunteers, many of whom came together to help and support those affected by this tragedy. He was in the area very close to the tower block and said he was devastated by what he'd seen.
The focus of the experts today is the search and rescue. Very soon, I'm afraid, it'll move on to recovery. But there are genuine concerns, reasonable concerns that have been raised during the course of the night, and it's really important that these questions are answered. I'll be demanding answers, and I can reassure you that I'll be ensuring that we have independence in relation to the reassurance we need. We also need to make sure that lessons are learned, but also if, and this is a big if, and Danny's right to warn us of the importance of not jumping to conclusions, if there are mistakes made, we want to make sure we learn them. There are tower blocks across London and across the country, and they're the responsibility of either the local authority, the borough, or a private management company. It's important that people are reassured that these tower blocks are safe. What's important today is to make sure that we work with the emergency services in their search and rescue and recovery. The local authorities today is rightly focused on housing temporarily those who've lost their homes as a consequence of the fire.
Well, lots of people have echoed Sadiq Khan's words there. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, an Islington North MP, of course, he is to demand a cabinet office minister appears before MPs tomorrow to answer questions about this tragedy. And we understand that members of the emergency crews are being invited to also attend. Well, let's just take you now over to Ladbroke Grove, where one of the relief centres has been set up, helping hundreds of people who have been displaced by this fire. My colleague Fumi Olatoye is there.
Well, I'm outside at Rugby Portobello Centre, which is indeed one of the release centres, and I'm told there's around 4 to 6 dotted around this area trying to help people get some information as well as grab some food, some clothing, because obviously lots of these people have lost absolutely everything. Earlier, we saw a bit of commotion here just outside of the centre because one person got terrible news that unfortunately one of their loved ones didn't make it in the fire, and as a result of that there was a bit of commotion between themselves, the police, and actually some members of the press because they saw someone filming. So as you can imagine, there is very high tensions here as people are trying to receive all the help they can in regards to information, food and clothing, but also there is lots of despair as people are starting to realise just how badly this fire has affected everybody in this community. Many lives indeed have been lost. Well, aside from this, we're seeing, as I said earlier, the community really pulling together to try and help these people in any way they can. They're donating all sorts of things. One of these places is indeed the Notting Hill Methodist Church, where I spoke to one volunteer who showed me downstairs on how they're arranging all the different types of clothing they've been receiving.
Okay, so everybody here is donating lots of stuff. We've got clothing, food, bedding, shoes, everything. It's just been coming in constantly. So I'll show you what we've got here. We've got a table here of kids' clothes that we're organising. This is for girls. Lots of kids' clothes. It's coming in every second. People are bringing in more and more bags. We've got bedding over here. We've got pillows, duvets, quilts, blankets. And it goes along here to towels, toiletries. Lots of toiletries here. Cereals, pasta, tea bags. We've even got baby clothing, and I noticed somebody brought in some baby food. I noticed somebody brought in some dog food as well. Down here we've got more stuff, bread, paper plates. We've got crisps. Watch out here, it's a bit dangerous, be careful. We've got crisps, dried food, and we have got so much water. You can see through the window, we're overwhelmed. Lots of water. So it's been fantastic. Men's clothes are down here. All the men's. We've also got the mosque bringing in prayer mats as well. We've got prayer mats here, and we've got shoes and ladies' clothing on this side. So it's been fantastic. The response from the community has been really good.
Well, that was the volunteer Paula Lewis, who is helping out down at the Notting Hill Methodist Church. Well, the person who actually runs the church and actually opened its doors to the community was Reverend Mark, who told me earlier why it was important for him to be part of this today.
St Clement's Church behind us is one of the churches in the Kensington Deanery, of which I'm area dean, and it's done what every church does on occasions like this. At 3:30 this morning it threw open its doors. It was welcoming streams of people evacuated from the buildings behind us as a result of the fire, and it's been offering a shoulder to cry on, someone to chat with and pray with, food, drink, somewhere to rest, somewhere to sleep, and we're now at the stage of trying to coordinate with the local council, the Royal Borough Council, accommodation issues, social services issues, and trying to coordinate everything so that they get the best possible care they can get in the midst of this tragedy. The Borough of Kensington is massively diverse, as you probably know. It's got some of the wealthiest streets and some of the most challenging social deprivation in the country, and yet in moments like this it comes together as London does in the wake of the terrorist outrages that we've seen, and it stands together. We've had the most extraordinary range of people this morning coming to offer to help, to volunteer. We've had people phoning up asking how they can help. We've had Stella McCartney's chef from round the corner saying he's coming to cook lunch for everybody inside today. They're not cooking for their staff. We've had Whole Foods on Kensington High Street providing sandwiches. We've had Tesco's and M&S and Boots providing supplies. It is a community, when the need arises, that stands together. I think where we go from here is encouraging communities to see how they can help beyond the first 24 hours, and in the days and weeks ahead, what they can do to serve the people affected by this. There are going to be people who need rehousing, there are going to be people who are bereaved as a result of last night, who are lost and distressed beyond belief, and we need to say, as local churches, local communities, what can we do to offer the love of Christ to those people?
And that was Reverend Mark O'Donoghue of the Notting Hill Methodist Church explaining how he's been helping the community in this tragic situation. You're watching London Live News. We'll have more on this tragic developing story after the break.